Glad I took the long road. Shortcuts to the game, that's a no-no. Least traveled on my journey, I'm a lone soul. Dark times got me glow. Everything I needed was on this path, I swear I never cheated. Pushing for a reason. So many times I fell, but I got back on my feet. So that's why I'm undefeated, no.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mike Double Mo. This is the last episode of the first season. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to answer questions that you all might have had. So I've had guests on this show and I'm very appreciative of every single guest that I've had. Just like you guys have learned things, I've learned some things as well that I've learned on the show, but then also there were conversations after the show and there were some conversations before the show even started. So even though I grew up with pretty much every guest that I've had, there were some things that I've learned. So I hope you guys enjoyed each and every show, and hopefully this next season you guys are going to enjoy that as well. But this is what I did. I went on social media and I asked you guys if you guys had any questions for me that you wanted me to answer on the show. And that's what I plan on doing today. Now, I'm not going to answer every question that I got, but I picked a couple questions that I'll answer. All right. So the very first question that I got was, what made you start GPT? Right. And what made me start GPT was that I realized from growing up, I realized that there was a need for this and I had a passion for it. So I just felt like it went hand in hand. It was something that I loved. It was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to help people, but it wasn't just about helping people physically. It was also helping them mentally. So there were some things that I went through growing up, and I kind of talked about it on the show, where it'll be times where I doubted myself. You know, it'd be times where I might have thought about quitting, but just never did. There were some obstacles that I faced that I said to myself, had that been this person or that person, I know that the outcome would have been different because I knew their mentality. I knew how they thought and things like that. And I just knew it would be different. So I said to myself, even though I went through it and I overcame whatever it may be, the next person might not. So, and I felt I was in a situation where I came out, but I went through some things that I learned from, and I felt like it would benefit other people by telling that story. And a lot of times when you're in the gym, you're vulnerable, right? And the guy or the girl that you're working out with, or the trainer that you're working with, you have somewhat of a trust in them, right? Because there are times in the workout where you start to doubt yourself, times in the workout where you feel like, hey, you don't have the one more rep that the trainer is asking for. But you give him or her that rep because you believe that whatever they see in you or whatever it is that they saying that you can do, you believe that you can do it. So that was a reason for me starting GPT. And looking back on it, I have no regrets. Everything that I went through has helped me up until this point. It has helped me tell a story. It has helped me mentor other business owners, other people that's thinking about starting a business. It has helped me change my view on just life and certain things that we go through in life. So I'm very appreciative of starting GPT. My next question. So I coached at DeMatha, and I coached at DeMatha for 9 seasons, right? And this has always been a debate. Matter of fact, even when I had the first group of running backs that I coached at DeMatha, they even asked the question of which DeMatha team was the best team that I've ever been on. That's a tough question. And it's a tough question, not that I'm avoiding the answer. It's a tough question because I can think of 2 to 3 teams that just stand out to me. And it can go either way, because we not only were good with our starters, but our backups were pretty good as well. So our practices were very competitive, and that's why we won 4 straight WCAC championships. That's tough. I'm not avoiding that question. It's just it's hard to answer that question. I would say on certain teams, the 3 teams that I'm talking about, I can't remember the years, but I remember some of the players that were on the teams. I would say from an offensive standpoint, we were more dominant on one side. Another team was more dominant on the defensive side. And one team, I would say, we just had more depth, especially at the skill positions. But now I know the game is won in the trenches. So it's hard to say. Okay. Now the other question is, if you can say you have mastered a skill, what would it be? I would say time management. I would definitely say time management. I think that's the one skill I have mastered. People say all the time, well, people that really know the story and know everything that I do are amazed at how I'm able to do all these things in the same 24 hours that they have. I would say time management. Time management is definitely it. There were times in my life where I ran a business. I had my 9-to-5, my full-time job. Although most people still think GPT is my full-time job, is not. Well, not yet anyway. But I had GPT. I had my 9-to-5. But then I was also coaching at DeMatha football during football season, and I was the strength coach at Douglas. So I was going from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. And I was able to do a good job at all those jobs. So I would say time management would be the skill. What age group of kids do you enjoy most training, and why? That's a tough question, but there's not a particular age group. And I'll break it down, because you asked why. The youth kids, I started GPT from the youth kids, from the little babies. And I enjoyed that because those guys are like sponges, right? Like nobody really has been able to teach them anything yet. So it's kind of like, hey, whatever Gibson Performance Training teaches us or tell us to do, like that's what we're going to follow. And because they have success so early, they follow that. They follow that until they reach high school, and then so forth. Like they'll let us know, hey, what's going on in high school, what they're being taught, what the coach is telling them, and asking us, do we agree? And if we don't agree, why don't we agree? And things like that. So I enjoy that. But then also too, getting those kids so young and watching them grow up to reach like high school. So you get a kid like Brenton Toles, right? Who we've had since 5 years old. And now he's a freshman at DeMatha, right? So he made varsity as a freshman quarterback. But to see the growth in Brent, right? And to see the impact GPT has had on his life. And it's crazy. Not too long ago, him and his dad shared with me some of the experiences that he had growing up and how GPT has impacted his life. And it was, reading the letter, it got me a little bit. You know what I mean? It got me a little bit because everything is so fast paced with me. Like I'm constantly moving from one thing to the next. And a lot of things that I do without even thinking. Like that's just me. Like if you call me late at night or you call me because you're going through something, I'm gonna probably be the person that, I don't know, my hand could be on fire, but I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna talk to you and try to calm you down and make sure your situation is okay. And I just feel like, hey, I'm gonna handle my situation, or whatever comes from my situation is gonna happen. But I wanna make sure that before I leave you, I wanna make sure that you're good. So that's a good thing about the little kids and how you see the development. Middle school, high school. Now this is a time where the guys are into like the girls, right? This is the time the girls are into the guys. So when they come into the gym, sometimes they're coming in with these attitudes where, they had a bad day or whatever it may be. So now those conversations become different, right? But the bond that you have with him or her is different as well. And it's times where they're having situations at home, and you have to break it down to them, because now I have the guys who are now lifting weights. So now dad is dad getting on my nerves, coach, and I think I'm about to push him back next time he push me, and it's like, nah, that's them weights. Don't let them weights talk to you like that. That ain't it. That ain't how you gonna deal with that situation. And even like with the female athletes, mom might be, mom don't know if she talk, and they get to swaying and all this, like, so just seeing them grow up and having those conversations and having those bonds with those people, that's special to me. And then you get those kids that now they reach college. Now when they college, everybody feel like they grown, right? But everybody grown until it's time to pay the bills. When it's time to pay bills, they call them mom and daddy. So, and then you having those conversations, and now those conversations are different too, because in 3 or 4 years, you're now in a world where now you got to live on your own. You got to make those decisions. You got to make those tough decisions. What's your priority? Like, do you go buy the latest shirt or coat before you go grocery shopping? So you have those tough conversations, right? And two, seeing them at that point in college, a lot of those guys and girls want to come back and talk to the younger kids. And that's probably one of the best feelings ever, is to see that cycle. See these kids go through this program and see how much we have sacrificed and gave our own time to them. And then for them to grow up and now get jobs and things like that. And now they want to come back. They want to hire some of the kids to be interns and things like that. That is probably one of the best feelings to be at GPT. So I don't have my own group. I don't have a group that I appreciate the most. Another one is another question. Do you have someone you wish you had the opportunity to work with? To work with, if you're talking about training someone, no. It's not someone that I want to train. There are some people that I would love to have a conversation with, and it's reasons for that. Like, the number one person I would always want to have a conversation with would probably be Barack Obama, for a guy that looks like me to be in that position of power. And some of the decisions he made, it's pressure. It's pressure with every decision that he's made. And his life was under a microscope. And it still is to this day, because he's the first black president. So to have that conversation, to talk about adversity, talk about how he has overcome those things, that's a guy that I definitely would love to have a conversation with. Okay. Okay, so I seen this question and I thought it was a good question. I even asked this on my last episode with Neil. If you could go back to when you started GPT, what would you tell yourself? And I would just tell myself, be patient. I would tell myself to continue to follow your path and stay on your pace. Don't worry about nobody else. Don't worry about what they talking about. Don't worry about proving anybody wrong. Because by trying to prove somebody wrong, now you're going at their pace. Now you're trying to entertain somebody that does not impact GPT. And that would be one of the biggest things that I would tell myself is to be patient. Okay. Now, just looking at the question, right? This is kind of funny. Okay. How are you coaching at DeMatha but training kids from other schools, even other WCAC schools? So DeMatha is in the WCAC conference, right? And if you know me, I don't care nothing about a school. It's always been about the kids. It's always been about let's do what's best for the kids. So I can be at a school, I can be working at a school, I can be coaching for a school. At the end of the day, I don't want to see another kid out here on the streets homeless or making the wrong decisions, right? I would love to educate every kid if I could. I would love to tell my story to every kid if I could. Unfortunately, I won't get that chance. But the one thing I can do is if a kid came into my gym, if a kid stopped me on the street and a kid had a question, I would take the time to answer every question that the kid had because I was once that kid. So to me, I would be a fool to act as if I don't have the time or to not answer a question or not try to help better someone else's life when so many people have sacrificed their time, so much of their life to better my life. So I don't keep battle. Pastor Keith Battle, he says it all the time. You're basically like your adversity now becomes your story, right? So everything you go through and everything you've overcome, that's your story. No matter how bad it got, the fact that you're able to still tell your story, you need to tell it. And you never know who life you might help out by telling that story. Last question. What is one thing you want people to think about when they bring your name up? What is one thing you want people to think about when they bring your name up? You know what? I was at a seminar and I remember someone saying that they are inspired or motivated by what someone might say at their funeral. How would they be remembered at their funeral, right? When you bring my name up at my funeral, I don't ever think it's going to be one thing. I think the word God-fearing man is always going to come up. But I think everybody knows how much family means to me. I think I preach that word so much, right? The word sacrifice. I pray that every kid, every adult that I've come in contact with through this whole GPT movement, right? And even before GPT, and when it's time for me to retire and I walk away from GPT, I pray every person understands the sacrifice that's been made. And you guys will never understand everything that I've sacrificed, all the time that I've sacrificed. You guys will never see that, and you guys will never maybe realize that. But I just pray that you guys are appreciative of the time that we spend. And not just me. I'm talking about a guy like Neil who's behind the camera right now, who could be home, with his family. I'm talking about Tiff, who could spend more time with her family, but she's styling for GPT. I'm talking about Gerald and Chris, who's in here day in, day out. And man, that's a question that when I really sit back and I think about it, when I see my nephew Caden, and that's Chris's son, seeing him grow up, and it's like every time I see him, it's like he got a new word, or he's doing something different that I haven't seen him do. And when I go home, man, it's like it's times where I'm leaving out of here. Well, I'm leaving from home, and it's early in the morning, so I might be leaving out of my house at 5. I'm in the gym at 5:30, 6 o'clock, but then I'm getting home at 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's stuff people don't see. People see the reward. People see, oh man, like you holding the belt with Jared, or hey, Saquon got the offensive rookie, Chase doing this, hey, Jeremy Grant doing this, or like. Everybody sees all the good things. People never see those seeds that you're planting, right? So, man, it's tough. It's tough running GPT. I'll be sitting here lying if I said this thing was easy. It's tough. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. You're dealing with, when I say personality, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. And you have to get the most out of them. So whether it's a quiet kid, whether it's a kid that's very talkative, and you got to get them to be quiet so everybody can hear the instruction, whether it's a person who came in and it's the worst day of their life, so they think, right? Whether it's a person who came in here and the whole world has been telling them how great they are. And now it's up to you to bring them down. It's up to you to humble them. It's up to you to get the point across, hey, there's still work that need to be done. And how do you talk to that person? How do you connect to that person? Everybody is different. And how you go about connecting with each person is going to be different, right? But that's your job as a trainer to try to figure that out, right? But then it goes beyond training. So everybody gets caught up in just training. And let me put my phone down when I talk about this. Everybody gets so caught up in just training and thinking it's just about training. Honestly, it's not. It's not. And training is probably the last thing that comes to mind when I think about a kid coming through here, right? Because you got the kid that's going to struggle with grades, right? You got the kid that's not going to listen to their parents. You got the kid that, like I said, everybody has talked about, so he on cloud 9 when he comes in here. And he thinks nothing he does is wrong, right? So you have to break him down or break her down in that aspect. You got the kid in here that's coming in here with an attitude, or might not even want to be in here. Might just be in here because parents told him he had to be here or she had to be here, right? You got the kids who don't even believe that they're going to be athletes. They don't even want to be athletes. But they're doing it, and the parents might put them in a program because it's like, hey, I want them to be around kids. I want them to learn how to be sociable, right? But all this and a lot of stuff that I talked about has nothing to do with training. But it's still your job to get them in here, work them out for that hour, and they still want to see results, right? So, man, when I talk about sacrifice, when I talk about conversations, even though I might leave this gym at 10 o'clock, I might be on the phone till 11, right? But that's something people might not see. I might get a call of hey, so-and-so about to do this combine. Can you get them ready for the combine? Can we do some extra hours? Can we do some extra things or whatever? Hey, my son, he acting up. I was wondering if you could talk to him because he really respects you. Or I was wondering if you could talk to my daughter because she's going through this breakup with her boyfriend. Guys, this has nothing to do with training, nothing. But I still make the time. I still spend spend those hours or those minutes with those people. Because at the end of the day, like I say, we family. And for me to preach the word family and for me to continuously say it and not live it, I just think that'd be totally wrong. But yeah, man. Listen, guys, I hope you guys appreciated every show. This next season that we're gonna come back with, it's gonna be even more crazier. And we already been talking about it, so you guys tune in. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully I answered your questions well. If I didn't, you can always hit me back. And if I didn't get a chance to get to your question, it's only because we had a time limit to do it. But I appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the love. Appreciate all the support. Love y'all.
Glad I took the long road. Shortcuts to the game, that's a no-no. Least traveled on my journey, I'm a lone soul. Dark times gave me glow. Everything I needed was on this path, I swear I never cheated. Pushing for a reason. So many times I fell, but I got back on my feet. So that's why I'm undefeated, no.